talk today is a follow-up from last week, and I want to talk about how I heard thee. Let me count the ways, the tragedy of domestic violence. Poet Elizabeth Barrett Browning, I believe it is, penned a poem that says, how do I love thee? Let me count the ways. I love thee to the depth and breadth and height my soul can reach, when feeling out of sight, for the ends of being an ideal grace. I love thee to the level of every day's most quiet need, by sun and by candlelight. I love thee freely as man strive for right. I love thee purely as they turn from praise. I love thee with the passion put to use in my old griefs and with my childhood's faith. This is what she's talking about, how I love thee. I love thee with a love I seem to lose with my lost saints. I love thee, listen, with the breath. She says, I love you with the breath, smiles, tears of all my life. And if God choose, I shall but love thee better after death. How do I love thee? Let me count the ways. Well, I wish it were really that simple. And I wish it were really that pleasant for everyone in every relationship. But for some, their life and their relationships are nothing short of a disaster. Thankfully, not all lives and not all relationships are affected by domestic or by family violence. But listen, my friend, far too many of them are. And every attempt is usually made to keep it quiet, to keep it, as we say, just between us. And this is one of those times when, that saying, what happens here stays here, not here, that doesn't apply here. No, my friend. Listen to me. Nobody wants the world to know what misery they are living in and the pain and the suffering that they endure on a daily basis. Nobody wants that to get out. But it can be like trying to pour a gallon of water into a pint-sized jar. Listen, my friend, there's just no way to hold it in. Not going to happen. And the problem is that it often comes out when it's too late. Too late to save the victims, too late to save the perpetrators. And then, what we call domestic or family violence will almost always include some form of physical abuse, some physical violence, some form of neglect, some form of mental and verbal and emotional pain and physical abuse. You look like you could use a drink. Grab a cup of coffee. Come on in and let's talk about it. This is serious business. This is my take, so don't hate. Good Friday morning. Man, are you enjoying this? And women, are you enjoying this beautiful weather? I am. Amen. Listen, good morning, Facebook, YouTube, friends, and followers. Welcome to this special episode, special edition of My Take on this Friday, February 25th, 2022. I'm Pastor Whitehead, Senior Pastor of First Baptist Church, Gainesville, Georgia. You know where we are, 1810 Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, Gainesville, Georgia, 30501. Stop in and see us. Whenever you take a notion to, we'll be there. And remember our last week talk, and this, of course, is a follow-up. And remember what Fred, Sanford's friend, told him from Sanford and Son. And I think it was when Fred was thinking about getting married. And his friend said, don't do it. Don't do it, Fred. Don't do it. And as far as domestic violence or any violence is concerned, regardless of the situation, regardless of the subject, regardless of what the issues may be, don't do it. Please don't do it. You don't have to do it. Don't tolerate violence and abuse, and don't engage in violence or abuse, my friend. Listen, and when you tolerate it, when you take it, every time you take it or tolerate it, you are condoning that behavior, and you are saying, I approve this beating, or you are saying, I approve this abuse. You are condoning it when you agree with it, when you take it, when you tolerate it. In severe cases, you're likely, listen, dealing with an out-of-control, violent, abusive, and domineering individual. Possibly schizophrenia, bipolar. But listen, my friend, on the other hand, you're dealing with someone, in spite of all of that, who may appear, did you hear what I said, appear to be very caring, very kind, very loving. And of course, part of the scheme is to be very convincing and believable. Often, however, it's only a show. It's just for the exterior. It's only for public display only. And just as with other illnesses, sicknesses, and addictions, such as alcoholism, drug addiction, drug abuse, sexual addiction, perversions, and with violent behavior, listen, my friend, and tendencies towards domineering or dominance over another person, people are living in denial and refuse to seek help for their condition, whether it's, listen, the victim or the perpetrator. Remember what I said last week? The only help you can get is when everybody gets help. Not the man, not the woman, not the child. Everybody has to get help. Tragically, people believe these people who are trying to pass themselves off as a nice guy or a nice girl. And secretly, they are, I refer to them as monsters, and I'll do it again. Because, listen, that's the way I felt. I felt like I was a monster. And that's the way I believe some of y'all act, like monsters. When we behave that way, it's like a monster, my friend. And it's not funny. There's nothing funny about it. Listen to me, it's serious. And they're trying to convince us that I'm okay, you're okay. No, the truth is, ain't neither one of us okay. Listen, and they want us to believe them and trust them. Listen, and what is happening is people will accept the abuse over and over again. I'm talking over and over again. We don't understand. That's why I called it a curse for everybody. And maybe it's because of love or dependency, in spite of the mounting of evidence to the contrary. They want to believe them. So we keep fooling ourselves. We keep fooling ourselves into believing that it will be different. It'll be different next time. And you know something? You could be right. Next time, it may result in death. It may be different next time. And your standard has to be established from the beginning of any relationship dealing with anybody. That standard has to be established and has to be held to no matter what. Don't give up. Don't quit. Before we can go another further, you have to say it has to be established. It has to be known. I will not be disrespected. I will not be mistreated. I will not be abused or neglected. I will not be beaten or battered. That is not about to happen, my friend. And you need to know that from the beginning. I will not be treated badly or unfairly, and you are not going to cheat on me and act like I don't exist. You will not talk down to me or at me, and I will not tolerate any abuse of any kind, be it verbal, emotional, mental, financial, or physical. None. I ain't going to do it. One and done. Preferably not at all. Are you hearing me, my friend? Do you know what all that means? I said, do you know what all that means? It means I would be respected. I would be treated kindly. I would be compassionately cared for. I would be loved and valued. And my voice will always matter in all matters. We will always speak life to one another, encourage one another, and we will protect each other from outside, from any outside and all outside attack. We're going to look out for each other. We're not going to join the choir out there singing against one another, okay? We will be faithful to one another, show respect for one another, and support each other even within, listen, even within a relationship. We will recognize and respect our individuality. Are you hearing me, my friend? And and these may be considered extreme cases, but if your situation looks anything like this, I would advise you to pay close attention. It's always your choice, but I can advise and I can give you counsel. Hear me, my friend. Beware of people who try to separate you from friends and relatives. Are you hearing me? Beware of those who try to isolate you, listen, and control your every move. Please hear me. Beware of those who try to cut off every avenue of support and every avenue of communications. Beware of those, listen, my friend, who either hide the keys to the car in the driveway to keep you from going anywhere, to keep you from doing anything, or they take the keys with them and pretend like, oh, I forgot I had the keys in my pocket. No, you didn't. You're a liar. Your pants on fire. Beware of control or restrictions and limitations on your phone calls, your social media activities, and on anything that will connect you to the outside world, cut you off. Please hear me, my friend. This is, again, is serious. Beware of those who try to control you by beating you down mentally and emotionally, degrading you and demeaning you and criticizing everything about you, criticizing everything you attempt to do, and complaining about everything that you do. Complain about what you look like, all of that. Listen, my friend, here's what you have to understand. No matter how beautiful you are, how handsome you are, brothers, or how gifted you may be, how intelligent you may be, listen, you're constantly told what a mess you are as a woman, or how weak and inadequate you are as a man. Any of y'all heard that before? Yeah, people have ways of beating us down, always talking you down, never lifting you up. Your conversations consist of criticisms and complaints and never a commendation. Hear me? Never anything good to say about you or to you. Predators often want you to think that you are nothing and that you are nobody, and that they, my friend, are your only salvation. That's what they want you to think. Nobody loves you but me. Nobody wants you but me. And it's ironic that abusers and perpetrators can devalue a person, cut you down so low, and then, my friend, have the nerve to tell you nobody wants you except me. Have you ever asked yourself, or ask them, ask them, if you're really, listen, if you're really all that bad, if I'm really all that bad, why do you want me? What is it that they seem to be holding on for dear life? Why? If I'm all that bad, what are you trying to hold on to me for? Oh yes, my friend, you are beautiful, or you may not be in his or her eyes. You are intelligent and gifted, or you may not be in his or her eyes. But regardless of what anyone else thinks, what anyone else says about you, you are one of God's creations. And under absolutely no circumstances do you deserve to be mistreated, neglected, or abused. Hear me, my friend. Your abuse is not your fault. Your abuse is not your fault. No, listen, my friend, your abuse is not your fault. And far too many of you are taking that guilt upon yourself, making excuses for that monster that you live with. Making excuses for that monster that you hang out with. Making excuses and taking it on yourself. It's my fault. Your abuse, someone else abusing you, is not your fault. Listen to me. That monster of a person does need you. They need you to walk on. They need you to beat on. They need somebody to beat on. They need you. Listen, they need you to verbally abuse you. They need you to give them someone that they can manipulate, someone they can control, and someone they can dominate. That's what they thrive on. That's what they feed off of. They need you to make them feel like they are somebody. And they are monsters. They have this need to dominate someone, to have power over someone. And they generally prefer that you be broke, busted, and disgusted, and looking a mess with your head hung down with sorrow absolutely all the time. That's the way they prefer you to look, a mess. Feeling as low as you can about yourself and about life. And then, and they don't mind, all that much, so much you having things, as long as those things come from them only. Nobody can do anything for you but them. The idea is to beat you down, to beat you into submission. And in many cases, it is psychological warfare, toying with your mind, with your emotions. They cut you down, strip you of all your respect and dignity, and yet they will quickly tell you they can't do without you. And they can't because you support their habit. They prey on your weakness, on your kindness, on your love for them. They take advantage of you and manipulate you, my friend. No, they don't want to do without you. They don't. We recognize these as undesirable, destructive behaviors, but we don't recognize them as illnesses, sicknesses, addictions, and conditions. And we often fail to recognize that this kind of behavior, for the evil that it is and for the damage that it does to families, that it does to individuals, that it does to communities, that it does to a nation. Listen, the goal of these predators, these monsters, is total dependency. You totally dependent upon them. Listen, the victims upon those predators will be dependent and total dominance over their prey. This is way more serious than we think or we're willing to admit. And these situations can quickly escalate to the point of mass destruction and death. This is a good time to ask, why do victims remain victims? Why do people repeat the same destructive behaviors that are putting them in danger, that are destroying their lives? Why do they keep doing it? Why do battered wives and women or men continue to allow themselves to be abused and battered? Why? Why, my friend? Well, some people stay in these situations and continue these situations because they're trying to protect their image and their reputation. They don't want anybody to know what they're going through. They don't want, these women, they don't want anybody to know that, my man beats hell out of me, because when they see him out there in the public, they act like there's nothing wrong. I mean, except the bruise upside the head, the black eye, and all of that. Then some would rather have a violent and dangerous relationship than they have no relationship at all. They'd rather live with a monster, than live by themselves. Then there's that code of silence. What happens here stays here, and we don't hear much about, the battered wives or the battered family members or family violence anymore, because people are trying to keep it to themselves. And I wish it was because it doesn't exist anymore that we don't hear about it, but unfortunately, it ranks right up there in that category of silent killers. Yeah, it's very much present. In fact, it's prevalent, I would say. Then, we stay in these kind of relationships because we don't want to deal with the shame and the embarrassment. We stay in these kind of relationships because we have been convinced that we are nobody. That low self-esteem. We've been beat down so that now we believe what they are saying. We believe what they say about us, that I am nothing, I am nobody. So we just stay there. Nobody wants me anyway. He's the only one that wants me. She's the only one that'll put up with me. And so we stay there and keep on taking the beating. And some are just financially insecure. I don't know what I do. Where am I going to stay? I don't have any family. They move me so far away from my family that I can't call on anybody. Financially insecure. They feel they can't make it on their own. So they stay there and take the beating. They don't want to expose themselves. They don't want anybody to think that they're failures. They don't want to admit that they were wrong, that they failed in this relationship. They don't want to come to a situation where they prove others were right. Mama told me not to do it. They don't want to acknowledge that Mama was right. Daddy told me he was no good. You should have listened to Daddy. Mama told me that, he wasn't right, she wasn't right, whatever. Listen, then there's situation, people stay in these kind of relationships because they fear losing whatever they think of as safety, security, and stability that they believe they have. They don't have it. It's not there, but they think they have it. They stay sometimes, you've probably heard this one before, for the sake of the children. Even though, listen, when you continue in this kind of life, you live in constant danger with continued abuse, my friend. Please hear me. And because of the sensitive nature of violent situations, the decisions, listen to me, the decisions and the risk involved must be fully understood, and every decision relating to your life and your family must be your decisions. I can't emphasize that enough. Have to be your decisions. I mean, because things can go different ways. And then you don't want to be blamed for what happens. I mean, this is one of those few times that I would advise you to talk to some trusted family member, talk to a trusted, close friend, and let them know what you are experiencing. This is one of those times that I would give you some advice on, that you don't need to keep this to yourself. Somebody needs to know what you're going through. You know, and the old saying is, and I'm not trying to be funny, I'm just trying to bring you to reality. This old saying is, at least let somebody know so we'll know where to find the body. You know, we'll know what happened. All right? This is one time that I would say the more people that knows, the better. And I'm not talking about throwing your business out there in the street. I'm talking about you talking to people that you can trust. Let them know what you're going through. They may be able to help. Let them know what is going on. So at least if something happens, I pray to God that it doesn't. But if something does happen, someone has some idea about what took place and why. They understand what the motive was. Please hear me. Prayerfully and carefully consider your course of action. I said prayerfully, carefully consider your course of action. Please prayerfully, carefully consider your course of action, my friend. Because honestly, the danger, it could go either way. I think there is such a thing as a right decision. I think there is such a thing as a wise decision. But I also need to be honest with you. The danger can be on either end. It can work out, in a worse situation, worse scenario, regardless of which way you go. That's why it needs to be your decision. That's why it has to be you praying about it, you being led by God. But there's risk either way. Hear me. There's risk either way. So you have to ask yourself the question, do I leave or do I stay? Risk either way. Do I leave or do I stay? Either way, my friend. That's why you got to be prayerful. Ask God to give you wisdom. Then you have to ask yourself, do I need a TPO? I guess they still do that, temporary restraining order, or do I not? Because some people take offense to that. They become more violent because of that. But you got to risk either way, my friend. So you got to work that out. It has to be your decision. I can tell you some things in certain situations, but these are decisions that you got to make for yourself. Please hear me. Do I need to move out? Do I need to stay here? Do I need to go live with family or friends for a while? Risk either way. Do I call the police or not call the police? Risk either way, my friend. So many things can happen. So listen, my friend, please hear me. Things can go in so many different directions. Things can happen so quickly. I mean, I'm talking about things that you never expected to happen. And it's sad to say it. It doesn't speak well of law enforcement. And obviously, this is not everybody in law, not all police. But calling the police is a major and it's a dangerous move. That's why I would say try to resolve things long before it gets this far, long before it gets to this place. Calling the police in a desperate and frantic state puts them on high alert and puts in their minds that they will encounter a dangerous, knife-toting or gun-wielding, raging maniac. And they might show up with guns blazing. But you also have to understand, my friend, that they are placing themselves in danger as well. They are at risk as well. Then you have to ask, do I fight back? Do I arm myself? Do I need to pick up a gun, a knife? I wouldn't recommend that, but that's the question you got to ask for yourself. You got to ask, am I going to fight back, when he jumps on me or when she jumps on me, or am I just going to take it or whatever? You got to make those decisions. Let me tell you something, my friend. Oh, God help me. Let me tell you something, my friend. Predators, these monsters, hear me, they pay well. They pay well. This is part of the scheme, part of the manipulation, part of the control, part of the dominance. They pay well. Part of the deceit. They pay well. I say they pay well. They pay well when you take a good whipping. Listen, when they kick your butt all over the house or up and down the street, hear me, my friend, they compensate you well. In their mind, you're a real champ. You go, girl. And the first thing they want to do is throw you in the bed and in their mind reward you for being a good soldier and for not telling anybody what just took place. That's part of the manipulation, the deceit. Or it may be, after all this has happened, let's go out for dinner. Buy your new car even, new outfit. After they have beaten the hell out of you, my friend, they will give you money, give you cash to go out and get your hair done or buy you a new necklace. It gets to a point where making up becomes the goal. And the more you take a licking and keep on ticking, the more treats you get. Sick. You need help. You're in a bad way. All y'all need help. When predators and abusers, with them, listen, my friend, it doesn't matter how frail you are, how small, how petite you are, how helpless you are. It does not matter how loving you are. It doesn't matter, my friend, how much you cry or plead or beg for mercy. When things get out of control, it's a bad situation. Please hear me. Now, I told you, you make your own decision. You do what you want to do. But my counsel to you is, if you, my friend, are in an abusive or violent situation, get help or get the hell out of there and do it now while you have a chance. Did you hear what I just said? I said if you either get help or get the hell out of there now while you have a chance. Now that's my take. What do you have to say? Sound off. Can't smile too much today. Ain't nothing funny about what's going on with that.